I still remember how they laughed. It wasn't just small chuckles. It wasn't just amused smiles. No, it was loud, cruel laughter, echoing in the room, filling the air with mockery. It was the kind of laughter that made my skin burn with embarrassment, the kind that made my chest tighten with anger. They weren't just doubting me. They were enjoying it, as if my dreams were nothing more than a joke for their amusement. She thinks she's too good for this place. Aunt Farida had whispered to my mother, shaking her head with disbelief. Her voice was low, but I heard every word. She won't last a month, my cousin Hina had said with a smirk, her arms crossed as if she was certain of my failure. She didn't even try to hide her amusement. She was so sure that I would come crawling back, ashamed and defeated. And my uncle, always the one with those cold, judging eyes, had simply stated, "She'll be back soon." Begging. There was no hesitation in his voice, no doubt. He spoke as if my failure was already written in stone, as if my dreams were nothing but foolish fantasies. That night, I packed my bags in silence. My hands trembled as I folded my clothes, but I didn't stop. I bit my lips so hard I could taste blood, but I refused to cry. I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I wouldn't let them be right. I walked out of that house without saying a word. I didn't look back. Not at my mother, who stood there watching but said nothing. Not at my aunt, who smirked like she had already won. Not at my cousin, who whispered something under her breath. Not at my uncle, who didn't even bother to acknowledge me. I stepped out into the world alone, carrying nothing but my dreams and my determination. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges I couldn't yet see. But I knew one thing. I would rather struggle and fight than ever return to them as a failure. And now everything is different. You see, I was never supposed to be the one who made it out. Girls like me, girls from small towns, from strict families, from places where dreams are a luxury, don't get to fly. We stay where we are planted, just like our mothers did, just like our grandmothers before them. We are expected to grow only as far as our roots allow, never reaching for the sky. But I wanted more. I grew up in a world where money was always tight, where my father worked long hours in his small tailor shop, struggling to keep it running. I watched him sew dresses for women who bargained over every rupee, their voices sharp as they argued for a lower price. I saw the tiredness in his eyes, the way his fingers moved tirelessly over fabric, day after day, year after year. I watched my mother too. I watched her turn a handful of rice into a meal for 5 people, making it stretch just enough so no one went hungry. I saw the way she counted coins carefully before going to the market, calculating every expense, making sure there was enough left for the next day. I heard the whispers, the quiet warnings passed from one woman to another. "Did you hear? That girl ran away to the city. No one has seen her since. She brought shame to her family. No good comes from girls with big dreams." Dreams, in our town, they were dangerous. Still, I dreamed. I had always been good at design. Even when I was little, I would sketch patterns in the margins of my school books instead of paying attention in class. I would take old, faded dupattas and turn them into scarves, cutting and sewing by hand. I would collect tiny scraps of fabric and piece them together, making little dresses for dolls I never owned. It was more than a hobby. It was something I felt in my bones. Then, when I was 15, I made my first real dress. A blue shalwar kameez with silver embroidery. I stitched it by hand, carefully, patiently, pouring all my love into every single thread. My cousin wore it to a wedding, and that night, everything changed. Women stopped her, asked where she got it, ran their fingers over the delicate stitches, admired the design. By the next day, they were knocking on my door asking, "Can you make one for me?" For the first time, I saw a glimpse of possibility. For the first time, I thought, what if this could be more than just a dream? What if I could turn this into something real? But in our town, having big dreams is a mistake. When I told my family I wanted to go to Lahore to study fashion design, they laughed. Not just a small laugh, but the kind that made it clear they thought my dream was ridiculous. "A tailor's daughter wants to be a designer?" Someone scoffed, as if my father's work made me unworthy of success. "What will she do in Lahore? That's not a place for decent girls," another voice added, as if the city would change who I was. Who will marry her if she runs around with city people? Someone else muttered, as if marriage was the only thing that mattered. Even my mother, the one person I thought would understand, shook her head and sighed. Beta, you are good at this, but this is not for us. Us. Like success was for other people. Like we were not allowed to dream of something bigger. Like we were meant to stay where we were, never hoping for more. But I did. So I left. I took the few gold bangles my grandmother had given me, sold them, and used that money to buy a train ticket to Lahore. I had no plan, no place to stay, nothing but my dream and the fire in my heart. Lahore was loud, bright, and frightening. For the first few nights, I slept in a tiny hostel room, sharing the small space with 4 other girls. Each of us had come to the city chasing something bigger than ourselves, holding on to our dreams despite the struggles. During the day, I worked. I ran errands in a boutique, carried fabric, sewed buttons, and hemmed dresses. The work was tiring, but I didn't complain. At night, I studied. I searched for every free online course I could find and learned about fabrics, different cuts, and the latest trends. I watched videos of designers speaking about their work, absorbing every word, trying to understand the world I wanted to be part of. And through it all, I kept designing. I made sketches on whatever paper I could find. Old receipts, scrap pages, the back of my notebooks. I saved every rupee I could and bought cheap fabric from Anarkali Bazaar, using it to stitch samples. Slowly, carefully, I built something from nothing. Then, my first real opportunity arrived. One day at the boutique, a customer noticed one of my sketches lying on the counter. She picked it up, studying the lines and details with curiosity. "Who made this?" she asked. I froze. My heart pounded. "I did," I whispered, unsure of what would happen next. She stared at the sketch for a long moment, then smiled. "Make this for me." That was it. That was the moment everything changed. Word spread. She wore that dress to a party, and suddenly, her friends wanted one too. One customer turned into 2, then 5, then 10. More and more people started asking for my designs, and before I knew it, I had more work than I had ever imagined. I worked like a woman possessed. I rented a tiny workspace, a single room with old peeling walls and a sewing machine that rattled every time I used it. I stitched until my fingers hurt, until they bled. I ate instant noodles every night just to save money. But none of it mattered, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just trying to survive. I was building something. And then one day, something unbelievable happened. A famous influencer posted about my designs. She called me a rising star in Pakistani fashion. Everything changed. Orders started pouring in. Boutiques reached out, asking to stock my designs. Investors wanted to meet me. I wasn't just a tailor's daughter anymore. I was a designer. The first time I went back home, everything felt different. I had imagined this moment so many times. I thought they would be proud. I thought they would smile, open their arms, and say, "We were wrong. You did it." I thought they would finally see me, not as the foolish girl who once dreamed too big, but as someone who had made those dreams come true. But pride is a complicated thing. Instead of congratulations, there was silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. The kind that fills a room when people don't know what to say, or refuse to say what they should. My uncle muttered something under his breath about how I had changed too much, like success had made me a stranger to him. My aunt waved a hand dismissively and said it was just luck, not talent, as if she couldn't accept that I had worked for this. My cousin, the same one who once mocked me, didn't say a word. She just looked at me. But her eyes told a different story. It wasn't anger, it wasn't happiness. It was something else. A quiet longing, a silent wish. Like she wanted to be me. No one laughed at me anymore, but no one cheered either. And that was the moment I understood something important. Some people will never celebrate you. Not because you didn't succeed, but because you proved them wrong. Because your success reminds them of what they never dared to do. Now, years later, everything has changed. My brand is not just a small business anymore. It is one of the top emerging fashion houses in Pakistan. My designs are worn by celebrities walking down red carpets, gracing magazine covers, and setting trends. Big magazines write about me, praising my work, calling me a success story. And my parents? The same parents who once worried about what people would say, who once told me this path wasn't for us. Now, they introduce me with pride. Their voices are full of admiration when they say, "This is our daughter." Now, they don't hide my ambition. They celebrate it. And those who once laughed at me, they call me now. They reach out, asking for jobs in my company, for loans to start their own businesses, for favors as if we were always close. They speak to me with warmth as if they never mocked me, as if they always believed in me. They say, "Come back, visit us." But I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their validation. Their words, their opinions, they no longer define me. Because I still remember the way they laughed.